In this video, I will show you how to build your own exhaust baffles for your side pipe exhaust that you can use on your hot rod, rat rod, or custom car. Hi, I'm John from 1929FordHotRod.com. This is a set of headers that I've built for my 1929 Ford Hot Rod. I started with a weld-up kit from Patriot Exhaust, then purchased some 3.5-inch exhaust tubing and turnouts for the side pipes. This is what the exhaust looks like on my 1929 Ford Hot Rod. Since I'm using Corvette suspension and I have a huge inward wheel offset, the inner part of the tires were just kissing the front tubes on the exhaust pipes, so I had to abandon this type of exhaust. To solve my problem, I decided to go with another weld-up kit from Patriot using a Lakester style header and continue with the idea of using side pipes. I decided to push the side pipes under the body but still outside the frame. With the installation of heat shields and the side pipes tucked up underneath the body, I believe that the possibility of leg burns while getting in and out of the hot rod will be eliminated. Having built now 2 complete exhaust systems for my hot rod and employing custom-made baffles in the side pipes, I have now perfected my idea of baffles inside the side pipes. So let's get started, and I'll show you the process that I used to create my baffles for these side pipes. I first started out with 5/64 inch or 2mm steel plate. I cut 10 pieces slightly over 3.5 inches square, and then scribing the center mark on each piece of material that I cut out. Using a scrap piece of 3.5-inch exhaust tubing and a Sharpie, I drew the circular pattern on each of my square pieces. I then center punched everything. On the drill press, I started out with a 1/8-inch pilot drill bit, and then I changed that drill bit over to a 3/8-inch drill bit for the final drilling. All pieces were securely mounted in a vise while drilling. Using my vertical metal cutting bandsaw, I roughed out the shape of all of the discs. All 10 pieces were bolted together using a 3/8-inch bolt. I tightened everything up with the first nut and then locked everything in place with the second nut to double nut it and lock everything in place, as I'll be mounting this in my metal lathe and turning these discs round. With this in the lathe, I used a low speed and took very light cuts. Taking my time, I slowly turned this to the diameter that was slightly under the size of the inside diameter of my 3.5-inch side pipe exhaust tubing. With it being slightly underside, this will allow for the baffles to slide in and out of the side pipes quite easily. Several years ago at a local automotive swap meet, I bought this horizontal metal cutting bandsaw for $25. It was in sad shape. It was brand new. It didn't have a motor and it was all in pieces. I put it all together and I've cut an incredible amount of metal. Here I'm cutting some 2.5-inch recycled exhaust tubing. I've cut 2 pieces at 3 inches and 8 pieces at 1.5 inches. Now I'm back at the metal lathe. Using a bimetal hole saw, I mounted the metal discs backed with a piece of plywood so that I could drill in the holes for the 2.5-inch exhaust tubing. In case you're wondering, the plywood is there to provide some support for the metal disc and so that I don't cause any damage to my 3-jaw chuck. Basically, I'm turning all of my round metal discs into a donut shape. Here are all the pieces required to make one baffle for one side pipe. Now I'm at my vertical milling machine. Here I mounted all 10 of my donut shapes into the vise, and I'm drilling a 1/4 inch hole at 0 degrees and 180 degrees. These holes will be used later to assemble the individual parts of the baffles. Now my baffles are starting to take shape. Here I've just tacked, using the MIG welder, the exhaust tubing pieces to the metal rings. Using long 1/4 inch threaded rods and several 1/4 inch nuts, I bolted my baffles into position, and then to lock them all in place, I tacked them once again with the MIG welder. This will prevent them from vibrating loose and causing all kinds of rattling noises in your exhaust. These will be the baffles that I'll be using with the exhaust system for the Lakester headers. Using only the 2 metal rods, these baffles slide easily in and out of the 3.5 inch exhaust tubing. This is a picture of the first set of baffles that I designed for the Roadster headers that I ended up having to take off the hot rod. Here I used 3 metal rods to assemble the baffles, and as a result I had to pound this baffle set into the 3.5 inch exhaust tubing, and they'll never ever come out again. So let's explain how these baffles are going to work. The majority of the exhaust gases are going to flow through the inner part of the 2.5 inch tubing. A portion of the exhaust gas will flow in between the outside part of the 2.5 inch tubing and the inside part of the 3.5 inch tubing. This gas will then hit the donut ring and have to reverse. This reverse flow will meet up with the forward flow, causing a sound cancellation. Overall, this produced a fairly quiet exhaust on the hot rod at idle and medium RPM engine speeds in the shop. The true test will be under torque conditions and higher RPM levels once I get the hot rod out on the road. At that time, I will do another video, and I will also record sound levels for various conditions while driving the hot rod. I did put an ad on Kijiji to sell the first set of headers that I built and the side pipes. To make more room in the shop while I was renovating, I decided just to quickly put these up on the wall. I thought they looked kind of neat on the wall, and I'm thinking that once I finish the renovations in the shop, I'm going to use this as interesting wall art for the shop. In another video, I plan on showing you how I built the Roadster headers and the Lakester headers. They turned out to be interesting jigsaw puzzles. Feedback and comments are always welcome. Thanks for watching. Please visit my website at 1929fordhotrod.com.